The story is set in 18th century England. Abigail, born into a humble family, is traveling by carriage to seek refuge with her cousin who serves in the royal palace. During the journey, a man with ill intentions harasses Abigail. To avoid trouble, she chooses to endure in silence. Finally reaching her destination, the man has no intention of letting her go and roughly throws her off the carriage. At this moment, she couldn't have looked more disheveled. She had thought things would improve once she reached the palace. After all, her cousin Sarah was the queen's right-hand woman and lived quite well here. Abigail takes out a letter from her aunt, hoping to secure a good position, but to her surprise, Sarah doesn't even glance at the letter and immediately sends her to work in the laundry room. Here, anyone can order her around, and Abigail always has endless chores to do. And that's not all being deliberately picked on as a frequent occurrence. One day, as Abigail dips a cloth in water to wipe the floor, a sudden, intense burning sensation shoots through her hands. She screams in unbearable pain. Only then does someone nearby inform her that gloves must be worn when cleaning the floors, as the water contains caustic soda, making it extremely dangerous. Fortunately, Abigail reacts quickly, immediately plunging her hands into water, thus avoiding a tragic outcome. Abigail knows these are just trivial matters. If she doesn't change her current situation, she'll forever be at the mercy of others. Just as she's struggling to figure out how to turn her fate around, an opportunity presents itself. One night, Queen Anne's leg pain suddenly flares up, throwing the entire palace into chaos. All sorts of home remedies are tried, but none work. Queen Anne's cries of agony echo throughout the palace. To calm Queen Anne, Sarah dismisses everyone, leaving only the two of them alone. Meanwhile, Abigail stares at her hand, burned by the caustic soda. Deep in thought, she remembers a folk remedy from her countryside home. Determined to seize this chance to change her destiny, she sneaks out of the palace on horseback that night, venturing into the depths of the forest to gather herbs. Her efforts pay off after a painstaking search. Abigail finally finds the herbs. She first tests them on her own hand, and only when she sees they work does she take the herbs back to the palace. Pretending to be a royal physician, Abigail tricks the guards and successfully slips into Queen Anne's bedroom. While Queen Anne is fast asleep, she applies the crushed herbs to her thigh. But just then, her cousin Sarah bursts in. Seeing Abigail acting suspiciously, Sarah assumes she's trying to harm Queen Anne and, without letting her explain, orders her to be taken downstairs for a whipping. Perhaps that's just how life is for those at the bottom. When you rise, few rejoice, but when you fall, there's always someone eager to gloat. Powerless and insignificant, Abigail can only endure in silence. Meanwhile, Queen Anne wakes up at that moment, and her first words are to ask what's been applied to her leg, as the cool sensation has brought her significant relief. Hearing this, Sarah realizes she's wronged Abigail. She rushes to the laundry room to stop the punishment. Then she calls Abigail over, apologizes for the misunderstanding, and asks for the herbs to keep on hand. Upon hearing this, Abigail knows her opportunity has come. She immediately pledges her loyalty, saying she's willing to share the burden of caring for Queen Anne with her cousin, and would even be willing to work like a horse or ox as long as she can stay by Sarah's side. Impressed by Abigail's compliance, Sarah immediately promotes her to be her personal maid, but she also warns Abigail not to overstep her bounds in the future. Abigail hastily agrees. From that point on, she finally escapes the drudgery of the laundry room and no longer has to sleep crammed together with a dozen others. Looking at her own small, private room, Abigail feels hopeful about the future. She wears elaborate makeup and follows proudly behind Sarah. Here, everyone treats them with the utmost deference. Even ministers must first gain Sarah's approval before being allowed to meet Queen Anne. Watching Sarah act so domineering, the ministers seethe with resentment but can do nothing about it. Observing this scene, Abigail feels admiration for her cousin Sarah, while her ambition for power grows stronger. One day, after Queen Anne recovers, she's chatting with Sarah. Abigail seizes the moment as Queen Anne walks past. She deliberately coughs violently. Before Queen Anne can ask, she takes the initiative to explain that she caught a chill while gathering herbs for Her Majesty. Upon learning that Abigail is the one responsible for relieving her gout, the stern look on Queen Anne's face softens slightly. Little does she know that none of this escapes Sarah's notice. As a woman herself, How could she fail to see through Abigail's little schemes to put her in her place? Sarah immediately takes Abigail to the hunting grounds. While hunting, she delivers a lesson. If Abigail wants to work under her, she must stay in her lane. Abigail says nothing, just raises her hunting rifle. Little does Sarah know that Abigail's ambitions go far beyond just being a maid. When Sarah, Queen Anne's right-hand woman, merely accepts an invitation to dance with another man, Queen Anne cannot bear it. Watching the two dance at the center of the floor, looking like a perfect couple, she instantly feels a sense of crisis. Born with a disability, struggling even to stand, how could Queen Anne's heart remain untouched? As the two dance with increasing energy, showing no sign of stopping, Queen Anne's anger hits its peak, and she abruptly calls a halt to the performance. Sarah is caught off guard by the interruption, and the atmosphere turns heavy clearly. Queen Anne is in a temper. Fortunately, having served the Queen closely for years, Sarah knows how to calm her. She pushes Queen into a secluded spot, intending to cheer her up with their usual tricks. But Queen Anne isn't having it this time. She's truly angry. Without warning, she slaps Sarah across the face. Sarah says nothing, just puts on a pitiful expression. This immediately melts Queen Anne's anger. The earlier unpleasantness is forgotten, as if nothing had happened. In truth, the relationship between Sarah and Queen Anne is far more than that of ruler and subject. Abigail happens to witness this unusual scene, and only then does she realize that Sarah's current position is due to more than just her official duties. She has other talents. Understanding this, Abigail also begins to seek presence beside Queen Anne, currying favor by offering her hot chocolate. But Sarah stops her, as Queen Anne's poor health no longer allows such sweet drinks. Queen Anne is reluctant but has no choice but to obey. It's clear that Sarah holds an irreplaceable position in Queen Anne's heart. Yet, compared to waiting on the moody Queen Anne, Sarah prefers the feeling of holding power. With the authority bestowed by Queen Anne, she makes decisions on all matters in the palace, big and small. As a result, she has less time to stay by Queen Anne's side. Feeling neglected, Queen Anne tries to fill the emptiness in her heart with gluttony, but indulgence only amplifies that emptiness rather than easing it. Queen Anne, carrying a candle, searches everywhere for Sarah, her desire to see her growing more urgent by the minute. Finding Sarah's room empty, Queen Anne becomes instantly agitated. Meanwhile, Sarah, who's handling state affairs, is informed that Queen Anne is throwing a tantrum. To prevent the situation from escalating, Sarah has to interrupt her work and go to Queen Anne, suppressing her irritation. As she opens the door, she finds Queen Anne being willful again, standing by the window, threatening to jump. Sarah has no intention of indulging her this time. She yanks Queen Anne down and roughly throws her to the ground, warning her to stop her nonsense, as she has important matters to attend to. But Queen Anne refuses to let it go, insisting that Sarah stay with her. To avoid delaying her official duties, Sarah has no choice but to arrange for Abigail to keep Queen Anne company instead. But Queen Anne is displeased with this unfamiliar face and is about to order her to leave. To stay, Abigail starts praising Queen Anne's rabbits, catering to her interests. This works. Queen Anne immediately orders her to let the rabbits out. Unlike Sarah's dominance, Abigail is gentle and understanding, making Queen Anne quickly drop her guard. She even takes the initiative to talk about the significance of these rabbits. Each one represents a child she lost. Upon hearing this, tears fill Abigail's eyes. With just a look, she manages to open Queen Anne's heart. Later, she even sits on the floor with Queen Anne, affectionately feeding each rabbit, treating them like children. In the days that follow, Abigail and Queen Anne are inseparable. With Abigail's company, Queen Anne's mood stabilizes, allowing Sarah to focus on state affairs. Here, Sarah finds a greater sense of self-worth. While Sarah thrives in the political arena, Abigail grows increasingly close to Queen Anne. Being with the gentle Abigail, Queen Anne feels a sense of ease and happiness she's never known before. When Sarah pushes open the door, she catches Queen Anne lying on the floor, laughing heartily. This scene fills her with a sense of crisis. To regain control, Sarah takes Abigail to the hunting grounds again. Under the pretext of hunting, she warns Abigail, "You've done well accompanying Queen Anne these days, but it's no longer necessary. Queen Anne has me by her side." Abigail says nothing, just takes aim at a target with a fierce look and shoots. Her actions speak louder than words. Provoked, Sarah feels insulted and is about to reprimand her when a servant rushes over, interrupting them. Sarah assumes Queen Anne is looking for her, but is soon proven wrong. The servant, trembling, points to Abigail, saying Queen Anne is asking for her. Watching Abigail's triumphant look, Sarah storms into Queen Anne's bedroom, using her best tactics to win back Queen Anne's affection. Thus, a full-scale battle for the Queen's favor begins. To climb to the top, Abigail decides to take a shortcut. She lies naked on Queen Anne's bed. The alluring scene is exactly what Queen Anne sees when she enters. Abigail puts on an innocent look, apologetically saying she accidentally fell asleep in the wrong bed. However, Queen Anne seems unmoved, fiercely ordering Abigail to get off the bed. Under Queen Anne's gaze, Abigail steps out of bed barefoot, swiftly dressing herself. Abigail thinks her efforts have been in vain, yet little does she know her graceful figure has already etched itself into Queen Anne's mind. Late at night, Abigail's door creaks open. There's no mistaking it. Queen Anne is summoning her. Under the pretense of treating her gout, Abigail is moved to the bedside, and what follows needs no explanation. All that should and shouldn't happen, happens. When Sarah, the Queen's long-standing favorite, arrives at the finishing state affairs, she finds her place has been usurped by her cousin. To assert her dominance, Sarah takes Abigail to the hunting grounds again, bluntly stating her over-decade-long bond with Queen Anne and warning Abigail to abandon her delusions. As a show of power, Sarah suddenly fires at Abigail. It's a blank shot, but it still sends Abigail sprawling to the ground. Sarah threatens to have her sent back to the laundry room, vowing the next round won't be blanks. Abigail agrees outwardly, but scheming thoughts brew in her mind. When no one is around, Abigail stands outside Queen Anne's door, slamming a brick-thick book against her forehead until blood trickles from her nose. Only then is she satisfied. Inside, Queen Anne hears the commotion. Opening the door, she finds Abigail sobbing, tears streaming down her face. Abigail's self-inflicted ploy works. Queen Anne is convinced Sarah is behind the injury. To protect Abigail, she promotes her to personal maid. Thus, when Sarah demands Abigail's dismissal, Queen Anne firmly refuses. Her reason is simple: I enjoy Abigail's company. Sarah loses the first round, triumphant. Abigail shoots her a provocative glance before boarding the same carriage as Queen Anne. In that moment, Sarah realizes Abigail is far more calculating than she thought. To reclaim Queen Anne's affection, Sarah sets aside state affairs, shifting focus back to the Queen. With over a decade of history, winning back Anne's heart should be easy. Their shared memories run deep. Sarah need only try, and Queen Anne laughs. Abigail forces a smile alongside them. Sarah wins the second round effortlessly, reducing Abigail to a mere bystander. Watching the pair's intimacy, Abigail seizes a chance to offer bedding Queen Anne, but with Sarah present, and refuses outright. Sarah's irreplaceable place in Anne's heart is clear. One flicker of her fingers, and Anne relents. Abigail feels this acutely. To become Anne's favorite, she plots something drastic. When no one is looking, she slips something into Sarah's tea. Sarah, unsuspecting, drinks it down. A quarrel with Queen Anne over state matters soon erupts. Angered, Sarah storms off, mounting her horse to clear her head. Mid-ride, the potion takes effect. Sarah slumps unconscious, falling from her horse, which drags her helplessly. This time, survival seems unlikely. Days pass without Sarah. Queen Anne, recalling their argument, assumes Sarah is boycotting to force a compromise. Stubborn, she forbids searches. Abigail watches, delighted, thinking her rival is gone for good. Yet Sarah clings to life, rescued by women in a brothel. Her ordeal isn't over. The brothel keeper demands she work off her medical debts once healed. Queen Anne, though refusing to search, cries out for Sarah when her gout flares at night. The palace dispatches messengers at once. Just as Sarah, newly healed, is forced into prostitution, the door bursts open. Palace guards have arrived. Rescued, Sarah swears revenge. By then, Abigail has become a duchess. At the height of her power, Abigail faces Sarah's return from the brink. Guilty, Abigail rushes to reconcile, proposing they serve the Queen together. Sarah cuts her off with 2 sharp slaps. Abigail doesn't fight back. She knows she's guilty of poisoning first. After confronting Abigail, Sarah seeks Queen Anne, hoping to reclaim her role, but her scarred appearance repels Anne, who avoids her gaze. Undeterred, Sarah demands Abigail's exile, but Anne refuses. Abigail satisfies her. Sarah shifts to coercion, using old tactics to bend Anne, but Anne rejects her, clearly repulsed by Sarah's scars, and turns away. Sarah returns veiled at dawn, brandishing their love letters as blackmail. Expel Abigail, or these go public, exposing your tastes, she threatens, striding out with the letters. This crosses Anne's final deadline, she orders Sarah to surrender her palace keys and depart at once. Panicked, Sarah bangs on the door, claiming she burned the letters, begging for a final meeting, and softens, reaching for the doorknob until Sarah snaps. Abigail twisted me into this. And hesitates. She sees Abigail as innocent, not the villain Sarah paints. Insulted, Sarah leaves that night, staring up at Anne's window, convinced she'll return. It's their last goodbye. With Sarah gone, Abigail indulges in feasts and revelry until summoned by the Queen, stumbling drunk to attend her, and asks for a leg massage. Abigail agrees, then collapses, vomiting into a vase, and relents, telling her to rest. In that moment, she misses Sarah. Sarah, too, longs to return, lobbying through intermediaries. Anne, prideful, claims she never wants to see Sarah but secretly yearns for her letters. Abigail, now in power, intercepts Sarah's letters, burning them all. Anne's hope fades to disappointment, then rage. Abigail seizes the moment, presenting charges of embezzlement against Sarah. Furious, Anne exiles Sarah, unaware her letters were destroyed. Sarah waits for Anne's call. When palace messengers arrive, she expects redemption instead. She faces a life of ruin, doesn't find happiness in Sarah's exile. The same day, innocent as a rabbit, Abigail reveals her true self. While Anne sleeps, she crushes the Queen's beloved rabbits underfoot her children, and wakes, witnessing the horror. At last, she sees Abigail's kindness was a mask. Guilt over Sarah overwhelms her. She tries to rise, but falls from bed. Abigail rushes in, offering help and snaps, "Stay back," repulsed, and orders her to kneel and massage her leg. Abigail complies, no excuses, and grabs her hair, mirroring how she tortured the rabbits. The film ends with Anne's regal smirk, her posture imperial yet eyes shadowed by loneliness. I'm a movie enthusiast. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.